So it is my true pleasure to introduce my climate action mentor, Fabrice Florin. Fabrice wears many hats. Most of them are very colorful. He's a multimedia innovator. During his career years, he pioneered a wide range of art, education, news, and entertainment projects at Apple, Wikipedia, and other digital media ventures. Now he lends his creative expertise to raise awareness about the climate crisis and to inspire people to live sustainably. Fabrice is the director and founder of Green Change, a nonprofit climate action network that helps people go green. They develop events and content to support a growing community of engaged citizens. Green Change offers education, inspiration, and most importantly to me, a community for people who are curious, concerned, or actively working to protect our planet from the devastating effects of climate change. Green Change has its roots in Mill Valley, but its tentacles reach throughout the world. This past year, Green Change was awarded a community grant from the Outdoor Art Club. The grant allowed them to devote considerable energy and resources to promote youth participation at Earth Day Marin, the free community festival Green Change and the Mill Valley Community Center sponsored in April. Thank you to the Community Grants Program and the members of the Outdoor Art Club for this generous gift. So today we are fortunate to have Fabrice with us so that he can share he and his wife Phyllis's multi-year adventure creating a more sustainable home and lifestyle. Their efforts were recently recognized. They were featured in the 2023 Marin Green Homes Tour. Fabrice will offer practical tips for taking action in our own daily lives to help create a more just and sustainable world. So as we get started, keep this in mind. Small acts, when multiplied, can transform the world. What each of us does matters. Thank you all for warmly welcoming Fabrice, who disappeared. Oh, there he is.
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you all for coming on a rainy Thursday. Many thanks to the Outdoor Art Club community for all that you do for Mill Valley and for the help that you've given us in recent years and for the opportunity to present our work. I hope that you'll get as much out of this as we are. So today we're going to talk about our community's transition to sustainable living. And by way of introduction, I'll briefly talk about my own professional background. I started as a television producer at Video West, where we expressed the worldview of the rock generation through a variety of television programs on MTV, PBS, ABC, and other television networks. Then I moved to Apple Computer, where we helped start multimedia back in the days when computers were black and white and mostly used for word processing and spreadsheets. And we helped the engineers develop a vision for bringing photos, videos, sounds, and rich experiences to the computing environment. So everything we take for granted now started way back when, in the early 80s. I then moved on to do a series of digital ventures. One of them was Shockwave.com, which was a large online gaming site with jigsaw puzzles and variety of games that people could play. 15 million people played there all the time. It was a really interesting experience as well. And then I turned 50, and I realized that I had a pretty good run, and now would be a good time to give back to society. And so ever since then, for the past 20 years or so, I have devoted myself to supporting social change and supporting nonprofit causes. And one of them was News Trust, which I founded in the 2007, 2008 timeframe. At a time when we were getting concerned that there was just too much misinformation that was starting to percolate, long before it became as huge as it was. And so we spent a lot of time helping people separate fact from fiction, which is a much more challenging task than you might think, because we all have a confirmation bias. And so sometimes our beliefs get in the way of our own judgment. But we're lucky to have the support of the MacArthur Foundation, and had all sorts of great partners, Washington Post, and et cetera. And then from there, I moved on to Wikipedia, another great cause, where I helped them develop multimedia features as a product manager, and then as a global communications manager, I help engage their community that edits this free encyclopedia. And then I've also worked as a teacher at TAM Makers, at TAM High with Geo Mundley, and helping makers of all ages develop their skills and learn how to build a better world with their own hands. My wife called me a Renaissance man in this birthday card. This is my wife, Phyllis. Thank you, Phyllis. Hello. And that may be a bit of an overstatement, but it is true that I am comfortable in a variety of roles, and this gives you a sense of all the different aspects of my personality and my work. But about 6 years ago, a friend of mine, Marilyn Price, introduced me to the gravity of the climate crisis that is threatening all of our lives. It's really an existential crisis. And realized that it was time for me to put my organizational skills to work to help address this serious crisis. You read the papers, you've experienced the wildfires, you know what I'm talking about, flooding, drought, millions of people's lives at risk. It's very serious. And if we don't do anything about it, we will be toast within a few years. And what's really concerning is that the climate change is accelerating. We're not doing a good enough job at reducing our consumption of energy and fossil fuels. And even though the governments around the world have pledged to take action, they haven't done enough. The scientists are very clear. They're saying we're not going to meet the goals because we're just too complacent. We don't realize how serious of a crisis that is. So I'm here to suggest that we all need to do our part within our means. Each of us can take an action or 2 or 3 or 12. And there are a lot of actions that one can take. One does not have to be, a millionaire to be able to make a green change in our lives. And then the businesses also need to do the same, and the governments need to do the same. If we all do our part, I feel that we can make a difference. Now, what do we need to do? The biggest issue is with our consumption of energy, which is about 82% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by our use of electricity, transportation, and heat. And so that's really where we need to make a big change. Agriculture is also an issue, and our food waste is an issue, and industrial processes are also an issue, but really the big part where we really need to make a difference quickly is in that area. And so we're going to talk about stopping burning fossil fuels. Certainly to generate our electricity, we should be using free energy from the sun, which is clean. We need to replace our gas-powered vehicles with electric vehicles. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and the benefits of making that transition. We need to replace our gas appliances, which not only emit carbon, but also methane, which is 80 times more harmful than carbon. And so we need to electrify our homes and let go of natural gas. We enjoyed it, but it's not good for us, and it harms our health. And we need to switch to clean electricity. I know all this sounds very nerdy and techy and all that, but it's very serious. And it can be accomplished. It's not that hard. And I'm going to tell the story of our sustainable journey with Phyllis and I, and how we greened up our lives. But before I do, I'm going to just sum up the key actions. Number 1, we need to use clean energy. Number 2, we need to use clean transportation. Walk or bike more, ride an e-bike or an EV. Number 3, we need to green up our homes, electrify the home, weatherize the home. We need to eat sustainably, don't waste so much food. 40% of the food that's produced in the US is wasted. And it goes to the landfill in many cases and generates more greenhouse gases. It's a serious issue. We want to eat less meat. I'll get to this in a little bit later. We want to consume less, reduce, reuse, recycle, buy only what you need. It's harder than it seems, as I'm finding out. This is probably the area where I'm the weakest. Support a green economy, help the businesses go green, and support them when they do. Support nonprofits who are leading the fight to help climate change recede in the background. Volunteer, donate, whatever it takes to help our nonprofits, and same with our neighbors, particularly the frontline communities who are the first one to suffer from the effects of climate change, even though they did the least to cause these problems. It's really important to support climate justice and equity and diversity for a number of reasons. And then last but not least, take political action. Certainly we all want to vote, and we want to vote for people who can support climate action, but we can also help others vote and certainly support green leaders. So we're going to talk now about some of the climate actions that Phyllis and I have taken over the past 6 years. And here we are in front of our home. It turned out to be fun. It wasn't a huge challenge. It was kind of just one step after another. And to introduce what we've done, I'm going to play a short clip from a video by the Marin Green Home Tour, which went to our home a month or two ago and recorded this lovely video. Here we go. Hi, my name is Fabrice Florin, and this is our home. We've lived here for 35 years with my wife and son and now our grandchildren. And this was built in 1954, which is just as old as I am, and we love it. My wife and I are very concerned about climate change and about the impact we're having on the environment. And so we determined about 6 years ago to go all out and to change our lifestyle so that we would be more sustainable. We have reduced our carbon emissions by more than half. So we're well on our way to net zero. And even though we're on a fixed income, we've managed to do all this stuff over about a 10-year period, all said and done. Come on in. We have a few other things to show you inside. If you're interested in seeing the full video, it's about 8 minutes long. There's information in a green change table in the back with a little QR code that you can point to, and you can see the video later. And if you sign up in the back, we will send you a follow-up email with links to some of the resources that I'm talking about today. So the first action that we took was to switch to renewable electricity. There are clean energy providers like MCE here in Marin County that provide clean electricity that's 100% from the sun and from wind. So they have these large solar farms. It costs about $5 a month to switch to clean electricity, and it has a huge impact. It really lowers your carbon footprint by a significant amount. In our case, it was probably 10 to 20% savings in return for the price of a cup of coffee. Easy action to do. It literally takes about 5 minutes. You go online, you sign up. The next thing that we did is we started eating less meat and cooking more meals with a plant-rich diet. And Phyllis has done wonders, finding amazing recipes that taste better than the meat recipes. Particularly, we're staying away from beef and lamb because those have the most significant impact on climate change. But it's not at all what one might think of, oh my God, if I stop eating meat, it's going to be terrible. No, it's delicious, and it's worth doing. Then we took a plunge, and we bought an electric car. This is a Tesla Model 3. They lowered the prices, so it was like 29 grand, which is just a couple grand more than a regular gas-powered car. So it wasn't a huge investment on our part. And boy, do we love it. These things are just so peppy and snappy. they don't cost nearly as much as the gas-powered cars because you don't have to pay these extravagant prices at the gas station. You don't have to take it in for service every couple of years. It has so few moving parts that we haven't had to take it for service in 5 years. The only thing you need to do is replace the windshield wiper fluid and refill the tires. It's lovely. It's really worth it. And it's going to really save us money in the long run. So even though it's a bit of an upfront investment, just a reduction in gasoline cars and everything, and it's significantly reduced our carbon footprint. So if you drive a lot, do yourself and everybody else a favor. Consider switching to an EV. There's a lot of rebates nowadays, and Ride and Drive Clean Marin is one organization here in Marin that can really help you. They have shows all the time where you can check the latest EVs and all that. Then we decided to get e-bikes, and boy, it has transformed my life to be able to go with this e-bike to places that I wouldn't have been able to do because we have all these steep hills everywhere. So now I get to go outside in nature and really rejuvenate myself. And then Phyllis got an e-bike a year or so later, and now we go on e-bike rides on Friday afternoons. And it really, it gives you a lot more range, and we ended up selling our second gas-powered car because we didn't need it anymore. We could make two with just one electric car and then two e-bikes. Sometimes I get the entire week's groceries in my little black panniers here. So e-bikes are fantastic, really well worth the investment, a lot cheaper than a car, and it makes you feel young again. Electric heat pump. Okay, so our old gas-powered heater one day crapped out. It was over. But lucky for us, we had studied up with Resilient Neighborhoods. We kind of knew what we're supposed to do. So we were able to turn on a dime and find a contractor, John Owen Services, who could install an electric heat pump water heater. Why an electric heat pump? Well, a heat pump basically pumps the heat out of the air and sends it where you need it. In this case, it heats your water with it. But it could also heat your home. It can also be used for other purposes. It's an incredible technology because it does all this with 1/3 of the energy consumption. So not only are we not spewing, methane and carbon dioxide, but we are also spending less than a comparable electric heater, 1/3 of the energy that it would take to use an electric heater that's not a heat pump. So I know I'm being a little bit nerdy about the details and all that, but it's really worth it. Heat pumps are just magical technology, just like EVs, and they can make a huge difference. And back in Europe, my brother had one for 15 years. He said, "What took you so long?" So Europeans have been doing it for a long time, but it's working out for them. So it's time for America to get with the program. And you can get rebates from the government, federal, state, and local. They'll give you money back, so it's really affordable. Solar panels. So we have a small roof and slightly shaded, so we couldn't put a ton of solar panels, so we got the best we could get from SunPower. We got 11 solar panels, and they power our home all day long and also at night, as I'll explain later. We can even recharge our electric car directly from the solar panel on sunny days. So we also got home battery from SunPower as well that can power our home for a couple days in the case of a power outage. But more importantly, it also powers at home at night. So all this beautiful solar energy, which is not available at night, it now is available to us through the battery. It gets stored in the battery, and you can see in the center screen how the battery is charging the home. And you can see on the next screen to the right how during the day, if we have extra electricity, we can export it back to the grid, and they send us a little bit of money back. So what's not to love? It's really, it's really, really effective. And home batteries are probably one of the things that people ask us about the most. Then, because of the drought, we wanted to do our part to reduce our water use, and we got rainwater tanks. This is really cool. The slope roof in our house collects the water, and it only takes 2 winter storms to fill up these 2 500-gallon tanks. Then we let them sit through the rest of the winter and spring, and then we start using them to irrigate the terrace that I'm standing on in this photograph. And we can run through most of the summer to irrigate that drip irrigation. So it's a small contribution, and it means that we don't have to require Marin Water to send us all this water, which takes electricity to send the water because they have to pump it to our homes. And in fact, Marin Water is one of the largest consumers of electricity in Marin County. So we take these things for granted, but not only are you saving water, but you're also saving energy. To manage our water use, I installed this little flume sensor that you attach to your water meter, and it sends you, through Wi-Fi, it sends you a very clear indication of how much water you're using at any given time. So then you can pinpoint who the culprits are in your home. You can find out who took a long shower. You can find out, is it the washer dryer? No, and the answer is, for us, it was the lawn. Irrigating the lawn was 1/3 of our water use. So we decided to let go of the lawn, and we're going to plant natives, and we'll landscape it. We haven't done it yet, but we've said goodbye to the lawn. We had a fun time with the lawn, but it was an easy sacrifice when we considered how much water was being used and how much energy was being used to provide that water. Then all our friends were saying, "Oh, you got to get induction cooktop. They're so cool. They're electric. All the great chefs use them nowadays." But we weren't sure if we could afford a big induction range, which can be a couple grand or more. So we just bought this little small portable induction cooktop, which is only like $100. And we cook, this is our primary burner, right? So sometimes we'll cook the meals with just that. We don't even have to use the gas burner at all. So this is a great way to move gradually. You don't have to go in all out all at once. You can test the technology, by getting a smaller home battery or smaller induction cooktop, and then decide to get the big version. It's fantastic. It boils water at 30 seconds. I mean, it just has so many advantages. So highly recommend. So the next big home improvement for us is going to be to get a heat pump, space heater, and cooler, like my friend Kevin Morrison from Green Change, who's showing off his heat pump. So I want to be like him, and I want to get that. Now, this is a bit more costly, so we're kind of saving our pennies. We're getting bids. There's all sorts of issues with the ducts and the insulation and things like that, but it's doable. A lot of people have them in their homes now, and they're fantastic because not only can they heat your home, but you just flip a switch and they cool your home. It's like a refrigerator in reverse. A refrigerator uses similar technology to keep your food cool. And so you can use a heat pump to keep your house cool, or if you're feeling cold and you want to get heated, you flip the switch and now it's heating. It's just a question of pumping the heat out of the air, and where would you like me to send it? Inside the house or outside the house? It's that simple. So this is something, we should all have heat pumps within a decade or two. This is a simple way to solve our problems, and the government is providing a lot of money for those. So now with the new Inflation Reduction Act, and also with our friends, the County of Marin will send you like $1,000. That's what they sent me, $1,000 for the water heater, just to thank me for doing that. But we also take actions that are very simple and yet still have an impact. Phyllis has been hanging the wash on the line for years, as I'm sure many of you do, and that's a great climate action. It's a great example of an effective way to not run the dryer too long and to use, again, the energy from the sun, and plus they smell so good afterwards, right? And then another climate action that we take now more often, thanks to the e-bikes, is we spend more time in nature. On our Friday adventures, we'll go to different places, and it's so rejuvenating. It helps you regenerate. It's good for the mind, the body, the soul. It's good for the environment. It establishes a more stronger connection between us and nature, so we can protect nature more, because nature is what sustains us. We often forget that if it wasn't for Mother Nature, our lives would be quite miserable. We might not even have a life, come to think of it. In any case, but the biggest climate action that I have taken was to start Green Change. So Green Change is a climate action network where we help each other go green and tackle climate change. And we invite you to go green with us, and I'll tell you some of the ways that you can do that. We serve a growing community of thousands of people in Marin, the Bay Area, and beyond. We often have people, come into our Zoom events from Europe or Australia. So it's kind of cool that we're having an impact, even though we started locally, that we could actually help people around the globe. But mostly folks are here in Marin and in the nearby Bay Area. So we produce events, once a quarter or so on different themes. One event was about regeneration, the other one was about electrification. And I'll show you a couple examples. So the regeneration event featured Katharine Hayhoe, who's an amazing speaker. She's the chief scientist at the Nature Conservancy. And she's just an amazing woman. Definitely check out her book, Saving Us. She's one of these luminaries that really is inspiring millions of people with her work. She's fantastic. The electrification event, we had about 8 different speakers, mostly local, talking about how to switch to renewable electricity, how to electrify your home, how to electrify your ride. Fantastic event. And then the HOPE event featured science fiction writer Kim Stanley Robinson, who wrote The Ministry for the Future, which is an amazing science fiction novel about looking back from the future at how we solved climate change. It's really well worth it. It's so inspiring, and he's a sweetheart. And we also had some young activists to provide a counterpoint to his perspective. So those are examples of the Zoom meetups that we do. They usually include some group discussions afterwards where we can share what we're doing, we can ask questions, so we can connect novices and experts. But by far the biggest and most impactful event that we've produced is Earth Day Marin. We've done this for 2 years at the Mill Valley Community Center. And I'm going to play you a short trailer that will give you a flavor for the event. And here it is.
Hello!
Hey, nice.
Welcome to Earth Day! We're gonna take it out in the water. The German line crossing by and really come on. Son of a gun, we're gonna have some fun on the bayou. So we gotta go down the road to be on fire. That's the night I'm gonna see my little mama tell me. The German line crossing by and a pretty gumbo. Son of a gun, we're gonna have some fun on the bayou. We gotta go down the road a million miles. That's the night I'm gonna see my little mama tell me.
Thank y'all so much, y'all. We had a good time. You had a good time with us. Thank you. Don't forget the Camille Crawfish Festival either. Thank you.
You get a sense of the ambience. It was all about joy, hope, connecting with your neighbors, learning from each other, instead of the doom and gloom that is often practiced to say, the climate crisis upon us and you must do something. And so the militant approach doesn't always work so well. And so what we wanted to do is just create a feeling of togetherness and a feeling that, yes, we can do it together and it's going to be fun to do it together. So we welcome 1,500 participants of all ages. 1/3 of them were young people. How often do you get young people to hang out with older folks like us? It was wonderful. We had 75 exhibits and activities. Many of the activities were playful. But the exhibits were informative, and people learned so much. These are our friends at the County of Marin Sustainability Team, fantastic group. We had a Climate Action Center, which was hosted by the Green Change team, including Anne-Christine Strugnell, who's in the back. And what we would do is we would help orient people when they entered the festival and find out about what actions they were interested in and connect them with the right partners. We'd invite them to play the Earth Day game. We'd invite them to sign up for Earth Day prizes, which Bridget arranged to offer to people. So it was a great central place to get folks oriented. And we also encouraged them to make a green pledge. What is the one action that you're going to take this year? And so this young lady is going to continue being a pescatarian. But we had all sorts of other actions, and these green pledges, we take their picture in front of the earth, and we post them on social media. Help express what our community wishes to do about this. We had educational activity like any town USA. You get to create your own sustainable town in minutes. The kids love it. And the adults also like it quite a bit. It's very visual, it's very interactive. Live music, this is Andre Thierry, Zydeco soul music. Passionate speakers of all ages. This is Harita Kalvai. Inspiring art. So this is Phyllis's art piece. It's called 1,000 Cranes, and it's her wish for the planet. And art can inspire us in so many ways, in ways that we don't fully understand. It's kind of an emotional connection. So we feature a lot of art at our events. A youth zone, which was partly funded by a grant from the Outdoor Art Club. Thank you very much. These young people are showing us a green business that they're started, where all the products are 100% organic and sustainable and biodegradable. And they make a little bit of money, and they give the proceeds to their school. We also arrange for youth workshops where young activists could sit down with elected officials like Damon Connolly, our state assemblyman, and many other government officials, and it was just a win-win situation where the youth felt that they were being heard, and then the government officials got to hear what the next generation of citizens expect from them. So next year we're going to export the spirit of Earth Day Marin and take it to a variety of different events all around the county. So one of the things that we're going to take on the road is our climate action booth, which is a little bit smaller format. In a way, this is the beginning of a climate action booth in the back with the signs and the information. And we'll travel around to different events. And if any of you want to join us, volunteer to help make that happen, we'd love to have you join the team. We may also produce a climate art exhibit like this one that we produced a couple of years ago at the Mill Valley Fall Arts Festival in the Redwood Grove. Beautiful setting. Again, a fantastic way to inspire people with art and then also show them about the actions that they can take. And then I'll probably take the Earth Bike to a parade or two. It's a nice mobile exhibit, and people relate to the image, and it reminds us that it's important to do something. It helps rise the Earth awareness. We also produce online content on our website, greenchange.net. So there you will find dozens of action guides, including individual actions, such as the ones shown in the top row, eat sustainably, use home batteries, switch to LEDs, or collective actions, which are equally important, such as help people vote or support climate justice, support your neighbors. So here are examples of each of those: eat less meat, switch to LEDs, electrify your home, support young activists, support climate justice. This is so important for us to help out the vulnerable communities which are unable to fight climate change in the way that more affluent communities can, and yet who are bearing the brunt. In Marin City, constantly issues with flooding, and this is just the beginning. So more and more of our efforts are going towards climate justice. Green Tips. This is a content series that is curated by Bridget Mazzini. What we do is we ask community members to share an action that they have taken and tell us in 100 words or so what they did, how they did it, and give us a couple links to resources where people can learn more. And this has a dual purpose. One is it informs the public, and number two, it spotlights the community members who are making a change. So it helps build community that way. A few examples, Bridget told us how she grows her own food in her backyard. And Christine told us how she uses a pressure cooker for cooking, again, moving away from natural gas. This is my gardener, Patricio. He was so proud that he switched from a gas-powered leaf blower to an electric leaf blower. And he did it kind of his own. I mean, I kind of nudged him a little bit, but he went out and did it. And it's so important to do that. It seems like a trivial thing, but if you power a gas-powered leaf blower for half an hour, it emits as many carbon emissions as if you drove your car to Tahoe. It is significant. That technology is ancient, it's badly designed, and it's really, and in fact, they're illegal now in Mill Valley, thank God, but it needs to be illegal everywhere. Check your own carbon footprint. Again, that sounds kind of nerdy, but it's like super important. You can go to, if you go to our Green Tip, you'll see the link, to a place that would have a carbon calculator. And it takes you about a half an hour or so to punch in all the numbers, but then they tell you where you emit the most carbon emissions. Is it your travel? Like if you fly a lot, it's gotta be travel, I can tell you that. Because a single trip to the East Coast is over a ton of carbon dioxide. And a trip to Europe, it's a couple tons. It's enormous. That was one of the first things that I did when I started, is I canceled the trip. And we lowered our carbon footprint by 10% for the year, just by canceling a trip to the East Coast. So back to the carbon calculator, it's really worth it to take the time to do that, because then you're gonna have basically an accounting of your carbon emissions. And I do it once a year religiously to see how well we're doing. I'm pleased to report that Phyllis and I have reduced our carbon emissions by more than half by taking the actions that I've told you here. And now we're gonna try to get it down to 0. So we're gonna have to get the heat pump, we're gonna have to get the induction cooktop, we're gonna have to consume less, we're gonna have to do even more. The first half is relatively easy, the second half is hard, just like with the weight loss programs. But at least it helps you measure exactly what you're doing. Now, another thing you can do is you can go electric with government support. The Inflation Reduction Act provides thousands of dollars for households to go electric. It's a little tricky to figure out how to do it, but these guys at Rewiring America are gonna help you do it. And many of our partners can also help you with that. But this one is a really good site to go to, Rewiring America, because you immediately find out, they get your zip code, they say, okay, in your area you can get federal support, you can get state support, and you can get local support. And then you take those off the cost of your electric heat pump, and suddenly it's affordable. But perhaps the most important thing you can do is do what I did, is take a class. And this is a class taught by Tamara Peters at Resilient Neighborhoods. Back in 2019, I took her class at the Mill Valley Library. It was 5 nights, a couple hours every week. And I learned, I would say, almost half of what I know about climate action from that class. It's fantastic. Resilient Neighborhoods has been around forever. They've reduced their carbon emissions in Marin. I forget the number, but it's just significant. And this is all because of this team that just teaches us in detail. Here I'm giving you a very fast presentation, but you're going to really learn all the details and also where in Marin to get what you need to get, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, this is a good segue to talk about our partners. A lot of what we do is work with our partners and trying to leverage each other's resources to get more done. So we partnered with the County of Marin, and some of those guys have made financial contribution to our work. The City of Mill Valley Recreation is who we partner with for the Earth Day Marin events. The Marin Community Foundation has been really helpful. Every time we ask, they give us some money. The Outdoor Art Club, yeah. And the Rex Foundation. This is the Grateful Dead's foundation. So, you guys are doing important work. We'll help you, even though we're in the music business. The sustainability team in County of Marin, Good Earth Natural Foods, this is where we used to host our event. MCE, this is where you would get your renewable electricity. Go there now. Well, as soon as I'll send you the email with all the links. Marin Water, Ride and Drive Clean Marin, that's who you want to work with to get your EV. 350 Marin, they'll help you with political action and also helping youth. They're very active there. And then the Sustainable Marin ecosystem. Sustainable Marin is our fiscal sponsor. That's how we can accept grants. And they have a lot of chapters, like one here in Mill Valley, Sustainable Mill Valley. That's Al Grummett and Marilyn Price and Linda. If you live in Mill Valley, you might want to connect with them because they can help you take local action right where you live. Or you can do it in Novato or San Rafael, a very well-developed chapter. And Resilient Neighborhoods is also part of that. They're also working under Sustainable Marin. And then Marin Green Home Tour, you just saw the video. They're having a great impact on the community by showing how homeowners around the county are helping make that happen. Many other partners, we serve over 100 partners or so. We promote their work. We connect people with them when they have an interest. And then last but not least, an amazing team. So everything that I just talked about is done by these 8 people. And we have a very diverse background. Some of us are environmentalists, some of us are artists, educators, writers, multimedia creators. And so this diversity of talent makes it possible for us to be very nimble and very efficient. And we get a lot done together. And it's a loose network. We're all volunteers, but it works. So this is an example of why climate action groups like that are important. Okay. The impact, 65% of event participants plan to take 1 to 6 climate actions this year. We inspire people to reverse climate change. We engage them to take action. We promote our environmental partners' work. We build a community of resilient, engaged citizens. That's what climate action groups do. So please join a climate action group. If it's not Green Change, maybe it's Sustainable Mill Valley or any of the other partners I mentioned. It's easier to do things together. Lastly, I'd like to close with a few words about hope. The news is pretty scary. It looks like the word is going to hell in a handbasket, and sometimes one can feel prone to despair. I'm saying don't give up hope. There are some signs of hope that we are headed in the right direction, maybe through fits and it's not always very clean, but things are moving along in the right direction. First, clean energy costs are dropping rapidly. Wind and solar are just way down, from 1/10 of what they used to be a decade ago. And so now a gas peaker plant that uses natural gas to provide peak energy is like 5 times more expensive than a plant that's a solar farm, right? So this is great news. Basically, fossil fuels will be out of business just for economic reasons because they're no longer providing an advantageous solution. Electric vehicles are on the rise. You're seeing them everywhere. Everybody's doing it. Our son just got one. Some of my old friends who I was asking a few years ago, will you get an electric car? They're getting their electric car now. So that's good. That's a lot of carbon that's being taken off the roads. Congress passed 2 historic climate bills. First, the bipartisan infrastructure law, that was $1.2 trillion, of which $500 billion is new money, and a large portion of that is for energy and climate. And the Inflation Reduction Act, $300 and then some $billion over 10 years, funded by charging 15% to large corporations. So it's those 2 things are bringing a ton of money so that residents like us can make a difference, and green businesses. It's fantastic. And Europe has been doing this for a while, but America is now getting serious, which is great. And that's creating millions of new, well-paying climate jobs. For all the people who are having a hard time making ends meet, they can really make a living in this space. Cities are taking climate actions. Mill Valley has a climate action plan. It's a good one. They're planning to reduce their carbon emissions by almost half over the next few years. Every city is taking action. And I have a feeling the cities are going to be the driving force of this movement, not just the federals and state governments. And then here's a nice one. 200 nations pledged to protect nature, saving 30% of the land and ocean so that we can preserve biodiversity and stop species extinction, which is rampant now. It's really important. Again, if we don't protect nature, nature is not going to be able to protect us. But to me, the most important one is that people are taking climate action every day. Everywhere, all around the world, people are turning around, rolling up their sleeves, and doing something about this crisis. And I'm sure many of you are doing it already, so I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to the choir. How many of you are taking climate actions of the kinds that we talk? Look at this. Oh, hold on, I got to take a picture of you. Keep your hands up. Here we go. This is great. So, all right, look at that. All these guys are taking climate action. But there are many people who don't know. They want to do something, but they don't know how to do it. This is why it's so important for us to keep talking about it. I think we can create a better world, even though it's a scary world right now. And we invite you, if you like what I told you about Green Change, you're welcome to take action with us. I invite you to sign up on the sign-up sheets behind, or there's QR codes for those of you who want to point their smartphone cameras. You can sign up right there. And volunteer if you feel like it. It's fun to go out and evangelize people all around the county. And if you can support Green Change, we'd appreciate a donation as well. And again, there's information about it and QR codes that you can use for that. That's it.
I have a question about your irrigation system. Did you have to, on your house, did you have to put a pump in to be able to pump that water out through your irrigation system then? Okay.
Yeah.
Was that difficult to do? Was that?
Well, we had a contractor install the system for us.
Okay.
It's Water Champions in Fairfax, but there's others who can do it. So no, it wasn't hard. But yeah, you need a pump.
Yeah.
And then you do need to check the pump every few months and, punch a few buttons to make sure it's working great.
Great.
Hi, awesome. Thank you. I guess I want to just reply also. I have like a gray water system. He didn't mention gray water, but a gray water system is completely passive. And that's not, we don't store it. We just take it out in a 2-inch pipe and put it in a French drain. There's no, not even any filter to clean. And that's the laundry water, the showers, and the bathroom sinks. All go straight out onto the landscape.
Yeah.
How to articulate this, but I don't want to be doom and gloom, but it seems like we're looking at the consumer end of it as like our little parts do make a difference, but it seems like when we look at who's producing most climate change, it would be the fossil fuel industry. So I just, maybe that's the voting part, or how do we address the big burners, the ones that are really making the impact, and so that we make more expedient changes, less than our little bit that we do as an individual?
Yeah, I think it's a political action, but it's also consumer action where sometimes you can boycott providers' products. But political action is the most effective. It starts by electing great leaders. Like Damon Connolly, well, I shouldn't mention any names, but we happen to have some good, great leaders who have our interests at heart and who are fighting in Congress and in the Assembly to try to bring in legislation that curbs the excessive use and exploitation by large businesses. So yeah, we need to regulate oil and gas industry, and it's already starting to happen. But it'll happen even more if we elect more green leaders who can actually use the power of government to do it. But fortunately for us, the economy is working for us because fossil fuel is becoming increasingly expensive, and so these businesses are going to have no choice to switch over to renewable resources over time.
Thank you so much for the talk. It was wonderful. I'm wondering, do you have any suggestions for putting your money, putting our money where our mouth is, as far as purchasing things from companies that are green, like the electric cars, is Tesla a green company, or is the induction ovens, are those green companies that we're purchasing? Or are they just, I know Tesla, the owner, flies a jet or a rocket, which has got to be more than 1 ton of. So I'm just wondering, do you make recommendations, the lesser of the two evils?
Well, certainly I would recommend working with any green businesses locally. Like Good Earth is a great example of a business that's totally committed to selling products that are farmed sustainably, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of Tesla, we don't condone Elon Musk in any way. He needs treatment, in my view. But the technology is sound. And by the way, this is not, he's the 4th CEO at Tesla. The innovation was done by the previous 3 CEOs. He just basically grabbed it and, he certainly made a difference. But I would not say don't buy from Tesla just because their founder is crazy, as long as the technology is sound. But if you want, you can get Volvo or others. But businesses are businesses. They will always do what's profitable. So you're not going to change that. But you can find some businesses who have devoted themselves to providing sustainable products and services. And so you can kind of ignore the corporate structure and buy the products if they're sound. That's my view. Christine, does something come to mind? Through the various guides that we do, we always point out to organizations that are doing great work. But we haven't compiled a list. But maybe ACS knows something.
I can't remember right now, but I know there is a little book which is like a guide to, which chocolate company is the best and that kind of thing. Also, anything that says it's a B Corp, there are very high standards for becoming a B Corp, and that is heavy on sustainability. And I also, and Fabrice was talking about political action. I wanted to say one of the things you'll see Fabrice doing every election cycle is he's on the phone. He's phone banking. And I'm phone banking too. I'm postcarding, I'm phone banking. Phone banking takes a certain something. Postcarding's easier, but those are really important. I had the conversation with supporters with Catherine Masto, Cortez Masto, in the run-up to that election. And, she won by such a small percentage of votes, but it gave us the Senate. So those are really important steps, because to your point, we can do a lot in the household. But we need to go big, and big is politics, really, getting our government to change with us.
Yeah. And I will say, by the way, phone banking is fantastic. You actually get to connect with other Americans who are not like you, and it's just an amazing experience if you can get over the initial threshold of discomfort of calling strangers. I've had amazing conversations that have broken my heart because they were just so sincere on the other end, and they were so happy that I provided that information. So it's worth going outside your comfort zone to do it. But Earth Day Marin, when we produce those events, are filled with businesses that we vetted. So everybody at Earth Day Marin is a serious climate action organization. You could just go to our Earth Day Marin page and look at all the partner names, like 75 different partners. And those are, I can vouch because I checked them myself before bringing them in. Those are good businesses to patronize. And we've come to the end of our time.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Thank you so much.